I'm going to be following this case with some interest because if it is true that it's a false flag, which I believe it is because God told me in a dream, that means that Trump was in on it to some extent and that he won't be able to keep his mouth shut. A close reading of the DOJ's charges against 31-year-old Cole Allen hint he didn't fire any weapon at all. I don't know about what is this, Substack? Let's see what it has. Can't trust mainstream media to cover this. Mainstream media is not going to cover shit. They're all in on the narrative. Like I said, the mainstream media can criticize Trump for being incompetent, but they can never criticize the fundamental institutions for being incapable of addressing Trump's incompetence. Those are two different things. They want it to always be a fault of a guy, not a fault of the system, you know? I didn't realize reading would involve so much reading. As the New York Times wrote, Mr. Blanche said investigators believe the suspect fired his weapon because a spent shotgun shell was found inside its chamber, but he noted that more forensic examination would have to be done to determine what exactly happened. Really? Wait, that's it? The only evidence we have of a shot being fired is an empty shell, not like holes in the floor or wall from buckshot pellets? Like a shotgun shell. Like it's a very loud gun. Empty shell in the chamber sounds even more like a false flag. Yeah, no kidding. They did have Stephen Smith on Fox News saying he thinks he heard a sound. Did he not even fire a gun? Stephen A. Smith, the one and only. Oh, sorry, he heard a pop at the White House dinner.
Notable,
you know, that classic shotgun pop.
Attendees at Saturday night's dinner, our good friend, ESPN host Stephen A. Smith. He said he heard a pop inside the hotel at the dinner. So what does Stephen A. make of the left's violent rhetoric and the latest assassination attempt on the president? He's here with more. You know what people comment on about our interaction together, our friendship? People say, you know, I like you guys together. We can tell you guys like each other. And you're wrong most of the time, so I mean...
I think you're wrong most of the time. Go ahead.
But in all seriousness, this has got to stop, Stephen A. Not cool.
It's got to stop. There's no doubt about that. I will tell you that it wasn't that.
Remember when people were saying this guy should run for president as a Democrat? That was so cool. This guy's a fucking retard, genuinely doesn't believe in anything and pals around with every right-winger in media. But people were like, well, he's got the sauce because he like mildly criticized Trump this one time.
Kind of environment, you know, you sort of walk away with the impression that all the pomp and circumstance, all the vitriolic rhetoric and stuff like that is just made for the cameras when you are in the environment that I was in Saturday night going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner with the honchos from ABC and Disney. You know, everybody that was in there, they were from both sides of the aisle. Folks were taking pictures together. They were mingling together. They were talking. They were having a good time. There was no vitriolic rhetoric. There was no incendiary comments. Everybody was getting along just fine. And then we go into the building, and all of a sudden, you just hear a little ruckus. I heard a pop, and the next thing you know, I see Secret Service.
You heard two pops, but there's one spent shotgun shell?
Running to the stage, and folks are screaming, get down, get down, get down. And law enforcement was saying, get down. And then I saw armed men, you know, for the Secret Service pointing a finger into the crowd. And it was giving the impression that the gunman had actually penetrated security and got inside the ballroom where the media members were. And what was so alarming about that, Sean, is that coming in.
Didn't they say a guy was shot in the chest? Yeah, the initial story was that he had fired that one shell directly into the chest of a, what was it, Secret Service agent? But because it was buckshot, it didn't make it through the armor. And we don't know the agent's name, I don't think. Do we know the agent's name? Every single pellet in the buckshot just hit the vest? Just so it was fired at point blank range? I mean, that's gonna, like, the force of a shotgun shell, even if it hits a vest, that's gonna knock you the fuck back. Any info on that? Any follow-up?
The Washington Hilton, we saw protesters outside. They were protesting everything from the war in Iran to the Epstein files and everything, and they were accusing the media of being complicit. So it wasn't far beyond the realm of comprehension that the media, at least initially thought upon, that the media was the target. And that's what made it that much more scary as well.
But you hear the constant refrain. You don't go there. You don't use that rhetoric. We don't have that in our personal discussions. We don't have that in our on-air discussions. Hitler, fascist, racist, Gestapo. Hitler, fascist, racist, Gestapo. Wash, rinse, repeat. You've got to admit this is dehumanizing and insightful. And over time, sick people hear it. You can't deny it.
I'm not about to sit here and insult the American people in your audience by denying that. There was a time when the left was quick to point to, I think from the years like 2010 to about...
There's also this theory: Secret Service agent who took bullet in Trump assassination attempt may have been hit by friendly fire. Okay, but there's still a spent shotgun shell in the shooter's shotgun. And also the difference between a regular, like a 9mm bullet hitting a vest versus a full shotgun shell full of buckshot, that would be very different. Like, you wouldn't need much forensic evidence to figure that one out. That would be like very immediately evident, you know? Cole Allen's initial court appearance heard the agent fired 5 shots. The gunman tried to storm the White House Correspondents' Center. His shots missed, but the agent himself took a bullet to his Kevlar vest. But it was friendly fire? If I was this Secret Service agent, I would not be happy with Sky News publishing this photo. Jesus fucking Christ. Finally! Pogging the fuck out now that I finally have something to do other than scrape ketchup off the walls. Jesus Christ. It's actually like a perfect pog, man. The shape is flawless. That's crazy. He brought a pump-action shotgun, a .38 caliber handgun, and 3 knives. Just classic assassination gear. Mr. Allen appeared briefly in federal court on Monday wearing a neon blue jumpsuit. He did not enter a plea and is likely to remain behind bars indefinitely. Mr. Allen ran through a magnetometer holding a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, and Secret Service agents, quote, heard a loud gunshot, the affidavit stated. One agent was shot in the chest but was wearing a bulletproof vest, according to the affidavit, which did not say it was Mr. Allen who shot the agent. Okay. The injured agent drew his gun and fired 5 times at Mr. Allen, who fell to the ground and was arrested. Mr. Allen was not shot and had only minor injuries. So Mr. Allen wasn't shot, but he fell to the ground? He wasn't tackled to the ground? Like, he fired 5 shots, missed all 5, and then Allen tripped? I just want a good timeline. This all happened in like a extremely scrutinized environment. We're not like speculating on the behavior of a hunter in the middle of the woods. They were in the Washington Hilton. Security cameras cover everything. They had a bunch of agents there. I feel like it shouldn't be that difficult to get a story together. Todd Blanche saying, like, investigations don't happen overnight. Sometimes bullets just disappear when you're firing in a hallway. Mr. Blanche said investigators believe the suspect fired his weapon because a spent shotgun shell was found inside its chamber, but he noted more forensic examination would be done to determine what exactly happened. I don't know. Trump told 60 Minutes he told agents during the shooting to wait a minute as they urged him to get down, saying he was curious to see what was happening. Uh-huh. Okay. Dizzying, man. Survival instinct of a potato. I think he knew he was safe. Again, this was on a different floor. I don't know, man. This shit's fucking not credible. It's not credible, is what it isn't.
Now apparently Congresswoman, so Donald Trump has been saying for months that private donors are going to pay for this ballroom project. Now apparently taxpayers are going to be on the hook for it. What's up with that?
My constituents can't afford fucking grocery bills or utility bills.
Whoa!
And he now wants to spend taxpayer money on a ballroom, on reckless wars, on a masked immigration regime. I mean, his priorities are clearly in the wrong spot, and they shouldn't use a potential tragedy to try to secure funding from taxpayers for this president to have Great Gatsby.
It'd be so fucking based if one of these Democrat politicians would do what their constituents are doing and call the whole thing fake. I think they should double down on it. If a Democrat did that in a safe district, I think they would secure their lifelong participation in Congress, you know? Everyone's thinking it anyway, man. Dude, there are so many funny snippets from Blanche.
How many shots have you been able to determine whether the gunman fired shots? If so, how many shots he fired, and who exactly, whose bullet hit the agent?
We want to get that right. So we're still looking at that. It appears, and I don't want to overstate because we are still looking at this, that there were five shots that law enforcement fired. We have all the evidence is being examined very carefully and expeditiously.
You would immediately know if the shot that hit the bulletproof vest was from a shotgun or one of the weapons held by Secret Service. You wouldn't need to conduct much of an analysis to know that. The evidence would be pretty straightforward. The Secret Service agents weren't firing shotguns. You would know who shot the agent. And also, people say they heard 5 bangs from the Secret Service agent firing their pistol. What about the shotgun shell? Shotguns are very loud. They are significantly louder than pistols are. Like you would, if you heard 5 bangs from the pistol, you would hear a boom from the shotgun.
Judiciously, and we'll know more soon. We do believe that
that's probably what they're covering up. The Secret Service agents shot each other, except there's an empty shell in the shotgun that's been submitted to the court from the government. So at some point, a shotgun was fired. The shell was fired before the incident. Then what hit the vest?
As the complaint lays out, that the suspect, that the defendant fired it out of his shotgun, and we know that that happened. But as far as getting into exacting ballistics, I'm not going to do that today because it's still being looked at and finalized.
Have you been able to determine?
Shell had anti-ballroom on it. Don't make me laugh.
The gunman was able to fire at least 5 to 8 shots when he charged through a security checkpoint outside the dinner. Was this a massive security failure?
Oh, to the contrary. It was a massive security success story. I mean, if you think about what happened...
I thought the Secret Service agents fired those shots? He didn't correct her. This was from the 26th, so this would have been in the interview right after. But you don't even have that info? You don't even know if shots were fired by your...
As far as what we know right now, this suspect barely breached the perimeter. And so when you have a perimeter of a situation like we had last night, where you had over 2,000 people in a room, including the leaders of this country and many other dignitaries, you have a perimeter where you have law enforcement willing to risk their lives to keep people who don't belong from getting in. This man, from what we know from video surveillance and from witnesses who were there, barely got past the perimeter. He was immediately subdued, and yes, he got off a couple shots. Our brave Secret Service agent who took one to the chest, although he was wearing a bulletproof vest. The president talked to him last night from the Oval Office. He was in great spirits. He was very appreciative. The president expressed his appreciation, his gratitude. And so yes, but no, I do.
They didn't even have their story straight here, like right after.
A little technical question. You mentioned that you guys so far you think that Allen fired at least 1 shot. That doesn't say that in the affidavit yet. So I'm just curious if you can explain the discharging of weapon charge at this point.
Well, he's charged with violating 924C, discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence. So by definition, that charge means that it was discharged. I can tell you from what I know, with the understanding that we're a day and a half in, that this is the gun that he discharged. And as those of us that have ever shot one of these know, what happens when you shoot that is the casing stays inside the firearm, and then if you reload it, it pops it out. My understanding is that it was inside the firearm, but hadn't been ejected, which means that it hadn't been pulled back again. But again, I want folks to understand, I'm the acting attorney general. I'm not on the ground doing the...
It is true. The affidavit says a shot was fired, but not that he fired a shot, right? Wasn't that the language referred to by the New York Times in the beginning of this article? Allen ran through a magnetometer, holding a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun. Secret Service agent heard a loud gunshot. The affidavit said 1 agent was shot in the chest. It did not say it was Mr. Allen who shot the agent, which is, again, information you should be able to get approximately 4 seconds after the suspect has been apprehended. Playing the hits.
1 officer fired their weapon 5 times. Was that the only officer who discharged a firearm?
I want to be very careful in answering that question, because this is, when you do ballistics, evidentiary collection and research, it is very complicated. So when you fire a bullet, the bullet ends up somewhere. Sometimes you find it, sometimes you don't. And so from that, with that qualifier, we believe right now that there was 5 shots fired from the same firearm.
1 officer fired their weapon.
I don't know, man. I'm sure more embarrassing, contradictory information will come out in the near future, and we can laugh at that when it comes out too. And they say in this article, too, really, after more than 24 hours, the forensic teams of the FBI and Secret Service can't figure out whether the suspect fired off a shotgun inside the Washington Hilton. That's very hard to believe. Suspicious wording of the charging documents. At approximately 8:40 p.m., Allen approached a security checkpoint at the terrace level of the hotel leading to the location of the dinner. Allen approached and ran through the magnetometer holding a long gun. As he did so, U.S. Secret Service personnel assigned to the checkpoint heard a loud gunshot. U.S. Secret Service officer VG was shot once in his chest. He was wearing a ballistic vest at the time. Yeah, they don't say he fired the shot. VG drew a service weapon and fired multiple times at Allen. Another like odd point is that I think that if you've just taken a shotgun hit to the chest, even if you're wearing a ballistic vest, you're the one who returns fire. There are a bunch of Secret Service agents there. Somebody runs through a checkpoint holding a long gun, fires a shot, and the first person to draw their weapon and fire in that situation is the person who just tanked a shotgun blast to the chest. You'd think that would be the last person, because the force of a shotgun shell, buckshot or otherwise, you know, bulletproof vest or otherwise, hitting you in the chest will knock you the fuck back. I mean, you can't be the first one to fire back. There's no way. To be fair, he missed every shot. Can I put on my tinfoil hat for a second? If you wanted to do a false flag but didn't want to get every Secret Service agent involved in on the plan, wouldn't you want to consolidate the planning to one person? Like, for instance, if there was a blank loaded, or if you had a crazy, you would want to, like, to some extent have a particular person who was expecting it and knew how to handle the situation once the guy ran through with a long gun, rather than having it be like a confused mess. I don't know, man. We'll see more shit come out. So much wild info here. How'd they not see him till he passed the checkpoint? It's like they're all Secret Service agents. They should all be able to draw and fire, like, pretty quickly. The guy who got shot is the first one to fire? Just, yeah, I don't know. Want to know more about Agent Poggers? Me too. Even the Fox News hosts were commenting on the lack of security. Sure, well, they want to sell the narrative that we need the ballroom, right?
To transpire. The president wants this new ballroom that he's been trying to construct as a way to move ahead and protect himself and others during these big events. Is this something you would support authorizing in light of what happened on Saturday?
No. You know, the president, let's be very clear here, the president he demolished the East Wing of the White House, a historic jewel of the American people, and he started to build this ballroom long before any incident. He also promised the American people that this was going to be built with private dollars. And so the idea that they are now trying to change the rationale for this in retrospect doesn't quite...
Why she kind of sound like Kamala? Because you're sexist. You just hear that in women.
Add up. And in fact, the White House long had facilities for hosting, which also included the East Wing of the White House, prior to them bulldozing the crown jewel of the American people. And so I don't believe that in an era where they are jacking up prices on the American people, when they are gutting everyone's health care, when people cannot afford to pay their rent and their mortgages, that we should be choosing our precious treasure, little treasure that we have in this country, to build an ornate castle on a scale of which is quite unprecedented and unbelievable, without any sort of accountability to those funds. And I'm sure that anyone who believes in, these values of so-called waste, fraud, and abuse would agree with me on that.
Do you feel safe currently?
She's just being careful with her words. I wish somebody would ult and just say the whole thing is fake. That'd be nice.